Hands up, how many of you own a business or hold a senior position in a business? Now keep your hands up if you haven't faced any challenges in the last few years. Thought so. I'm not rich and I'm not famous, so what am I doing here? Good evening, everyone. Nisam Bulavinaka, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum, Namaskaram. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic which is from Rakiraki to resilience, a journey of growth, value and legacy. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Sanjay Stahl. I'm a chartered engineer in civil engineering, spent a number of years in civil consulting, and about 17 years in construction. I am also a member of the Brands Advisory Committee called Building Research Advisory Council. I am a father, husband, and a granddad. And there's evidence. Now, Rakiraki. Some of you might know where Rakiraki is. For those that don't, it's along the west coast of Viti Levu. You go for a few hours from Nandi Airport and you arrive in this place called Vaileka, Rakiraki, which is a very small town, probably about 15-20 buildings, and then you head off further up towards Suva and you cross a big river and you come through to a village, a koro, and right beside the koro is where we grew up. That there is my granddad's house, the first house after the koro. We used to run down these gravel roads, go fishing in those rivers and creeks, and that there is my granddad's sugarcane farm, and we used to go down to the sugar mill and have a lot of fun there. And that's what a typical old schoolhouse used to look like back in the day. And there's the koro, which was right next door. There's the bit of the town, which was, a very small town. That's the bus stand. Now, Rakiraki is actually in a valley, so it gets flooded quite often, and people get used to it. There's still some old wooden timber bridges still there. We grew up with things like this and this and this. There was a farming community. We used to play in little muddy creeks with the kids and things like these, which would turn into things like these sometimes, a lot of things like these and these, which sometimes turns into things like this. Now, early life on a sugarcane farm. I was born in Rakiraki. My granddad was a farmer and both my parents were school teachers. Growing up with very little taught me valuable lessons about trust, respect, relationships, and being resourceful. Everything operated on trust and respect. There were no contracts, no lawyers. My granddad had never been to school, but quite often he would be called in to the koro, to the village, to sit alongside the village chief and elders and help resolve disputes. Although I was really young, this helped my understanding of how to build a strong relationship, how to resolve conflicts, and these are the skills that remain essential in my work today. Now, at 16, I moved to New Zealand, yes, all by myself. It was tough, balancing a new culture, finishing high school, working multiple jobs to fund my education, and later on I completed a civil engineering degree. In 2007, after working for a good number of years, I decided to start my own construction business. The timing wasn't great. It was right before the GFC, but those challenges shaped who I am today. I dedicated my business to my grandmother, and I used her name, Keola Pati, to create Keola. This is a photo with my grandmother when I was a toddler, and this is probably a few months before she passed away. Now, battle scars. People call them profile or portfolio. I call them battle scars. This is a building in Auckland, near Ponsonby, called Soho Square. We didn't build the building, but however, we did all the consulting for the civil work around the excavation and everything like that. We built a hotel near the airport. We built complex buildings, quite sharp, pointy buildings. We built oval buildings. We've built apartment blocks, we've built more apartment blocks, we've built quite high-end residential houses, and so on. Now, I'm not rich and I'm not famous, so what am I doing here? Success seems to have defaulted to two things: fame and money. So what is success? To someone who's had a stroke, getting up and walking is success. So I recently bumped into my friend Scott. He sleeps in a van and he's out on the footpath with his bowl begging for coins. I asked him if he's had a successful day. He smiled and said a lady bought him a coffee and he collected $27.50. He was heading to the supermarket to buy a steak and then off to his van to cook dinner. Success. Success is something you feel. It's not something you obtain. I feel healthy. I feel loved. I feel fulfilled. That is success. It's about leaving a legacy of hard work and trust. The world is a brutal place. You can either choose to be better or choose to be worse. Let's look at some setbacks. Now, in the last 18 months, I busted my knee and broke my wrist. Both times I had my doctor with me and she helped me with my recovery. Now, financial. In the early stages, in the first few years of business, we lost $270,000. This was unpaid by a developer. And we also almost lost $650,000. This remained unpaid for 5 months. We were on the brink of collapse. And more recently, just around COVID, we invested most of our life savings into a development project. But then COVID struck and everything turned to custard. Recovery. How do you recover? When you've done the work and things go wrong, you know how to get out of it. When you haven't done the work and things go wrong, you call yourself a failure. Now, this image. Do you think Mike Tyson was scared when he stepped into the ring with this kid, irrespective of the payday, etc.? Reps and battle scars. Reps and battle scars. This teaches you a lot about adversity, being in unfamiliar territory, and being vulnerable. This is me at the foot of Mount Everest. It's called the Everest Base Camp, which I did a few years ago, and a lot of unfamiliar territory. As someone has said, this is a very beautiful scenery along the journey. It's being, as someone had said, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah, it was difficult. Attempted to carry some heavy loads, which is not built for normal people. These are only very seasoned people that are able to do that. Some more photos. I'm scared of heights, so that was very terrifying for me to cross those hanging bridges, which are 100, 200 meters up above ground level. And more battle scars. Now, these are some of the awards we've won over the years, commercial awards, property awards, Deloitte's Fast 50, and so on. Now, some of you might know David Goggins. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, travels around the world doing speaking engagements. He's an ultramarathon runner, and he was a Guinness Book of Records holder for the most number of pull-ups at some point. And this is him here. We recently went to his...
If I wanted to leave a legacy behind on this generation, on the world, it is the fact that this guy, he failed, but he never quit.
He failed, but he never quit. That was the words of David Goggins. Now, who do you trust? Who are the people who bring positive energy to your life? Who are the people with battle scars? Who are the pillars of strength and perseverance in your life? For me, the voice of balance, the voice of many, a joke, a well-known and prominent figure from the fantastic city of Ba. Someone who doesn't look at everything through a dollar value lens. A guy who says Hamabarg Hams and Ipaka. With the initials AB, Mr. Ahmed Bhamji. I'm currently his agent, so if anyone wants any coaching, contact me and I'll give you a rate. Secondly, A strategic advisor, a person from whom you can bounce off ideas, a person who has assisted us for over 15 years without fail, through thick and thin, the younger AB, Mr. Atish Bhej, someone who does look at things through a dollar value lens. But in business, you need that, right? Sometimes you need to remove emotions from transactions, and Biz Solutions has been the team for us. And then last but not least, someone without whom my life would have had a different trajectory. Someone who brought immediate focus to my life. Always well balanced, calm and collected. And it's none other than my son Rohil. You know you've achieved some sort of success when clients call and want to talk to him instead of me. Now I just want to talk a little bit about value. A humble bottle of water. $2.50 at the supermarket, Gilmore's, Costco, $8 at the Hilton. Now how much do you think that bottle of water is to him? $50, $100, $1,000? Value is what dictates your worth, not price. What value do you bring to your clients? In our line of work, the value we bring is called value engineering. It's when you find efficiencies in cost or time without compromising quality. This is what construction generally feels like. Constantly trying to balance time, cost, and quality. Now, just a quick couple of things about a school we built in a forest. This is a site here. It's a 10,000 square meter forest, and the red dot is where the building platform was, and we were to build a kindergarten for 150 kids, and it had a lot of exposed timber beams. It was meant to look like a leaf, which is an oval shape with the little veins are represented by exposed timber beams, and as you can see that's the shape. And now we faced a lot of issues in that site. We had services issues, asbestos, oversized roof, cost escalations, and of course we had COVID. And how do you read that as? Dollars. Now why is that a problem? Well, during COVID, there's a lot of business downturn, there's a lot of delays, banks and funders were getting quite uncertain, and we needed to save a lot of money because the bank was getting really twitchy about continuing to fund this project. So the target for us was 10%, save 10% on the cost of the build, and this is for build that's already under construction, which is quite a big ask. And so the client came to us and said that we need to pull the pin on this project, and we need to do something, otherwise the project is going on hold. So some of the solutions we came up with, and the team came up by changing a few specs here and there, and we saved a few $1,000s, but it wasn't enough. What we needed was a major structural revision to remove the exposed beams, and that would have been a big change. So in terms of what the design was at that time was, as I said, it's like a leaf, very complex. The big blue line is the central beam, which isn't straight, and you can see the center isn't actually the center, it's a bit lopsided, and a lot of radiating lines. Nothing's parallel to anything. You can see all the dimensions, none of the dimensions are the same. So very, very complex structure. That's what it looks like on the ground with all the piles in. Remember, the cost saving was notified to us after the building had already started, and we were already the piles were in. You can see all the floor joists and everything, which looked like that on the ground. And that picture, you will see that the walls are not parallel. None of the walls are parallel, including the sloping roof. And again, looks like a leaf. So funding issues. So what we did was took out my red pen and my blue pen and straightened up a few things. Straightened up the walls, and also tried to make it as symmetrical as possible, which is, it's a tough ask, but handed that over to the structural engineer and said, hey, what can you do with this? He came up with, within reason, optimized a few things and tried to follow that strategy of straightening up things. What that meant was, because all the piles were in already, some of the piles would get wasted and we would need a few more, but regardless, it was still a benefit. That looks like that on the ground. Lots of piles. And this is what eventuated. We got rid of all the timber and replaced that with steel, straightened up a lot of the walls, and finished the building. See, so in summary, it was a full structural redesign. The cost savings were 380,000, which was 8%. Our target was 10%. It was an award-winning project, and it was a happy client. So that is what is value engineering. That's an award we got from the Property Council, Excellence Award. And well, that was my presentation. Now, there's some contact details. You can find us on kiola.co.nz. You can scan the QR code to get there, and some other contact details. Thank you very much for your time, and hope you've been able to learn something from this presentation, and I look forward to connecting with some of you.